In the orderly world of bureaucracy, time is supposed to move in only one direction. Dates advance, ages increase, ink dries, records settle, and the past stays politely behind the present. This is why archivists across 3 countries were unsettled when they encountered the same anomaly, repeated with quiet consistency across nearly a century of documents. A man who appeared to grow younger the longer he lived. At first glance, it looked like a clerical error, an ink slip, a mistranscribed number, the sort of thing that happens when census takers work by candlelight and memory. But as the documents accumulated, as birth certificates, tax rolls, marriage licenses, military exemptions, and death records all began to align, the explanation of mistake collapsed under its own weight. Every independent source agreed, every official seal confirmed it. On paper, at least, the man aged backward. The earliest document was a baptismal record from 1813, found in a parish archive in what is now eastern France. The handwriting was neat, the Latin formula standard. It recorded the birth of a boy named Etienne Merritt, born to a cooper and his wife in a riverside village. The priest noted the date, the witnesses, and the infant's apparent health. Nothing about the entry stood out until it was compared to what came later. The next appearance of Etienne occurred in an 1834 census. Listed as a farm laborer residing in the same region, he was recorded as being 18 years old. By ordinary arithmetic, he should have been 21. Census errors were common, especially among rural populations, and no one at the time would have questioned a discrepancy of 3 years. Etienne himself may have supplied the information, or a neighbor may have guessed. The record was accepted and filed away, but the pattern did not correct itself. In 1848, Etienne appeared again, this time in a tax register. His age was listed as 30. By then, according to his baptism, he should have been 35. The gap had widened, 5 years missing. Still, nothing that could not be explained away by faulty memory or bureaucratic laziness. It was not until the 1861 national census that the anomaly began to feel deliberate. Etienne was recorded as 42 years old. Based on his birth record, he should have been 48. The 6-year difference matched the growing trend. Every appearance shaved time away from him, as if age itself were being quietly edited out. What made the case stranger was that everything else about the records was impeccable. His address changed in ways that matched known migration patterns. His occupation shifted logically with age and economic conditions. His tax contributions rose and fell with documented harvest yields. Even his signature, preserved on several legal documents, evolved naturally, letters tightening, strokes growing more confident, then looser again. The man, at least in ink, was real. In 1870, Etienne married. The marriage certificate survives in full, signed by both parties and 3 witnesses. His bride, Marie Lefevre, was listed as 22. Etienne's age was given as 46. According to the baptismal record, he should have been 57. The discrepancy had grown to 11 years, yet no objections were raised. The officiating magistrate signed without comment. The witnesses to laborers and Marie's uncle affirmed the information. Marie herself signed her name directly beneath the line stating her husband's age. If she noticed anything unusual, she never said so publicly. The couple had no recorded children. Parish birth registers list several Merritt households during that period, but none are directly tied to Etienne and Marie. What does appear, however, are a series of residence permits and travel passes issued in the 1880s. These documents list Etienne's age in his late 30s. By then, according to his original birth record, he should have been nearing 70. One particularly striking document from 1887 records Etienne as 39 years old. The clerk's handwriting is clear, the paper bears an official watermark. The ink composition matches others from the same office. There is no sign of alteration or overwriting. To any contemporary reader, the document is unremarkable. Only when compared against the baptismal record does it become impossible. The archivist who first noticed the pattern in the early 2000s initially assumed fraud. Identity theft, though rare in the 19th century, was not unheard of. Perhaps a son or nephew had assumed Etienne's name. Perhaps 2 men had been conflated, but deeper examination ruled this out. Physical descriptions, height, hair color, scars remain consistent across decades. A distinctive injury to Etienne's left hand, noted in a military exemption record, appeared again in a factory employment ledger 40 years later. It was the same man, continuously documented. Marie died in 1893. Her death certificate lists her age as 45, consistent with her birth record. Etienne is named as her widower, age 34. At the time of her burial, he should have been 80. Witnesses at the funeral, according to parish notes, described him as reserved and quietly spoken. One line, added almost as an afterthought, notes that he appeared uncommonly youthful for a man of his station. The phrase was not emphasized. It did not seem important, only later would it feel like a clue overlooked. By the turn of the century, Etienne had moved again, this time to a growing industrial town. Factory employment records from 1901 list him as 28 years old. His job required physical stamina, and supervisors noted his reliability and strength. One marginal comment, written by a foreman, states simply, claims prior experience older than he appears. No explanation was offered. The final document in the chain is a death record dated 1909. It was issued by a municipal office whose archives survived two wars and multiple relocations. The paper is worn but legible. The cause of death is listed as unknown. No physician is named. There is no mention of illness or injury. Underage at death, the clerk wrote, -1, -1. There is no correction, no strike-through, no marginal note explaining the absurdity. The document was filed, stamped, and indexed like any other. Etienne Merritt was buried in a communal grave. There is no headstone bearing his name. When historians attempted to reconcile the record, they encountered an additional absence. Etienne's name does not appear in the cemetery registry for that year. The ledger skips from the entry above to the one below, as if he had been intentionally omitted. Marie's grave, meanwhile, remains clearly marked. Attempts to locate personal correspondence have failed. No letters, journals, or diaries attributed to Etienne have surfaced. It is as though he existed only within official systems visible to the state, but invisible to personal memory. Even property records show no lasting ownership. He rented, he moved, he left little behind. Some scholars have suggested a prosaic explanation, a bureaucratic cascade of errors, each new document copying the last without reference to the original birth record. But this theory fails to explain why the age continued to decrease rather than remain static. Others propose deliberate falsification by Etienne himself, perhaps to secure work or avoid obligations. Yet such deception would have required remarkable consistency across offices, regions, and decades, many of which operated independently and required supporting documentation. A smaller, quieter group of researchers have noted something more unsettling. In several documents, particularly those from later years, Etienne's handwriting appears steadier than in earlier ones. Where age typically introduces tremor and hesitation, his pen strokes grow simpler, cleaner, almost childlike. And then there is the negative age. Clerks were trained to leave fields blank if information was unknown. Writing, one, served no administrative purpose. It conveyed nothing useful. It was not a convention of the time. Someone chose to write it. When asked why, the archivist who rediscovered the record admitted he had no answer. It's as if, he said, the system didn't know how else to describe him. Today, Etienne Merritt exists only as a trail of paper that contradicts itself. On ink and parchment, he moved against time's current, growing younger as years passed, slipping backward toward something unrecorded and undefined. Whether this reflects an extraordinary biological anomaly, an elaborate social fiction, or something that resists explanation altogether remains unresolved. What is certain is this: when the final record was written, the man had become something the language of age could no longer contain. And so the clerk did the only thing left. He counted backward and went beyond zero.